Hey guys, welcome back to another Meaningful Monday. My name is Joby Harlel, and I had a great weekend. How was your weekend? Hope everyone had a great time, as much fun as I did. My brother actually came in town with my nephew, which is always fun to see them. More so my nephew than my brother, but that's different. Neither here nor there. Um, I jest. Um, but today we're talking about what to do when things don't go your way, and because that, how often does that happen? Pretty often. I'm trying to think of an example of when things didn't go as we planned them. It's hard to think of one because the entire last 2 years has been pretty much one big example of that. But yeah, what do you do when things don't go your way? So I'll tell you why this came up for me this weekend. Um, fast or rewind, I should say, not fast forward. Rewind to 2 weeks ago. My brother was supposed to come in town for the weekend. Well, he missed his flight. So he couldn't make it in town that weekend. And it didn't make sense for him to come for 24 hours because he's going to come the next day and then the flight was going to come in late. That was planned to meet up that weekend to hang out the whole weekend and it didn't really work out. So he said, okay, I'll try to come the next weekend. And it worked out better because he had my nephew. Well, the following week again on Friday, circumstances happened and he missed his flight on Friday. But thankfully, Saturday morning had a flight. So he came with my nephew on Saturday morning and we had ended up having a great weekend. I mean, I had planned stuff for Friday night, but I pivoted, figured things out, and the weekend started on Saturday morning instead of Friday night as we originally planned. But what do you do in that situation when you're frustrated? It's like, okay, we had this whole plan, things are not going to go according to plan. We got to adapt. We got to figure out what makes sense. I know for me personally, on a day-to-day basis, I live by my calendar. Everything is on my calendar in terms of what I want to do for the day, my goals for the day in my calendar. I have different meetings. I have tasks that I've put into my calendar that I want to get done. I want to make sure that I make the best use of my time because as an entrepreneur, the most important thing and most precious thing that I have is my time. That being the case, when I plan things out, I want to make sure that things go as much as possible to plan. Well, that doesn't always happen, right? So what do we do? Well, one, we examine why things didn't go our way, right? Number one, take a look at what happened. What happened in the situation and what's within your control? What can you actually change next time? What can you learn from this? So take that out of the situation. What can you learn? And then make that change next time. Forgive yourself and then make the change. So you can say, you know what, next time I'm going to do this differently. Or next time I may not, be as late leaving the house. Maybe I'll leave extra time, extra padding to get there. Or maybe I won't make as solid plans to do what I need to do. Right? Those kind of things can really, really help to figure things out for yourself. The other thing is like that initial step of taking a step back, right? Don't get caught up in that moment and really get down on yourself and be like, oh my God, you're such an idiot, or you're so dumb. It always happens, or blah 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 blah. Down that downward spiral of negative self-talk, because that ends up hurting you long term. When you create that into a habit and make that something that you do on a regular basis, your brain listens to that and hears that a lot of times, and that doesn't end up helping anyone. So take that step back, forgive yourself, and examine the situation and say, okay, what can I do differently? You know, is there something I could have done differently? Process your thoughts and emotions. Take some time to just talk to yourself in a productive way, if it helps. Or talk to someone else. If you have a friend you want to give a call to, or a confidant, a counselor, a coach, therapist, someone like that. Those kind of folks, they may be able to help you kind of walk through it and kind of take that step back for yourself if you're not able to do that for yourself. It's always nice to have family and friends to lean on, but they may not always be the best people to call in that situation. So if you have someone you can count on, great. If you don't, start talking to yourself. It's okay to do that, or even just sit there and type some notes on your phone and really type out exactly what you're feeling, or do a voice recording. That actually works really well for me when I'm on the go. I'm not a big fan of swiping and typing on the phone when I don't need to. So I'll just do a voice recording and kind of walk myself through what I'm thinking right now, what I'm feeling. And when you force your brain to verbalize things, it processes things very, very differently than when it's just swirling around in your head, right? In your head, feelings and thoughts and everything gets jumbled up, and it's really easy to feel overwhelmed. But if you are forced to articulate that to someone else or to yourself or in any form, to whether it's writing it or saying it out loud, writing it's obviously the best if you write it by hand. But if you're saying it out loud, you're still forced to verbalize that and make it into coherent thought, as opposed to just pure feeling that just makes you feel really crazy. So take some time to really verbalize that and make sure that you know what you're thinking, what you're actually feeling, and where the root of your issue is. Because ultimately, it may be that situation, it may be something totally different. It could be pent up frustrations and annoyances and things that you've been bottling up inside for X amount of time that only now is getting released. because of this one situation, maybe that straw that broke the camel's back. So take some time to figure that out for yourself. The next day, I'd say focus on actionable steps. It doesn't make sense to stew in your frustration or annoyance or grief. Take the time to, once you examine what happened, figure out what you want to do, right? You can also take that step and move that up a little bit and say, okay, what can I do about this right now to get this resolved? Then I'll do a debrief and figure out exactly what caused this whole thing, what caused this whole problem, what can I do in the future to fix this, and that kind of thing. But get the situation resolved. That's the ultimate goal, is to move into what you ever need to do and move forward, not to the side, not back, but really move forward, right? What is your ultimate goal? To get from destination A to point B? Well, how do we get there? How can we make that still happen right now? Is it still possible? Is there anything within my control that I can do to make this thing still possible? Once you've done that, then you can do that root cause analysis and say, okay, what went wrong here, right? What do we actually want to do? And those in IT would be familiar with that term of root cause analysis. The last thing is, realize the situation could always be worse. No matter how bad things are, no matter how much you tell yourself it can't be worse, it can always be worse. All right. So just be thankful for that part of things. And I know that that's not a very strong consolation in many situations, but ultimately it's true. A lot of times things can be much worse than they actually are. And there's some things within your control and some things that are outside of your control. Separating those things out for yourself, walking yourself through that process of what went wrong, what could I control here? Is there anything I could have done differently? Maybe not, maybe so. Then understand that there's a reasonableness test as well. Maybe there is stuff you could have done differently, but that those set of things you could have done differently might be so far out of the realm of reasonable, like leaving 4 hours before your flight to get to a flight that's like, only needs an hour to be there. Yeah, you could have done that, but that would take up your whole day. At that point, you might as well drive wherever you're going, right? So factor in the reasonableness into that as well. Don't feel like you have to hold yourself to an impossible, unproductive standard, but take a look at and really be honest with yourself and say, what could I have done differently here? It's easy to blame everything else and then grasp at straws to rationalize why things may have gone a certain way. The other way that you can look at things is like, okay, here's what I could have done. Here's outside my control. Traffic sucked. That guy drove really, really slowly. There was an accident over there. You can't plan for those kind of things. What you can plan for is knowing, okay, it takes 45 minutes to get from here to the airport. I'm going to leave an hour before my flight or before my check-in time to make sure I get there in time. Extra 15 minutes just in case anything goes wrong. Anything outside of that, unreasonable, unforeseeable, it is what it is. At a certain point, you got to leave things up to God or whatever power you believe in, if you believe in the higher power, or just call it chance, because sometimes things just work out a certain way. And yeah, serendipity has a place to play. So today's a relatively short one. If this resonates with any of you, then I imagine it resonates with at least a few of you, because things don't always go according to plan. And as they do or don't, then you got to take some time to figure out what you want to do about that. And ultimately, it's always about moving forward, not dwelling in the present or the past. So thanks so much, guys, for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Like I mentioned on the stream last week, we're going to be doing a giveaway again at a certain point once we get to 1,000 followers. Once I get to 1,000 followers. So if you guys do know someone who's interested in winning another PS5, please encourage them to like the video, like this channel, subscribe to the channel, and like the video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell if you want to get notified of future videos, and share this video with someone who you think might benefit from hearing it. Maybe there's someone that needs to hear this after a crazy weekend. Maybe at the end of this week. You never know what happens during the week. So remember, take some time, take a step back, really figure out what you wanted to do to move forward, and then take that time to do the root cause analysis after the fact and really be honest with yourself about what you have control over, what you can control, what you can't control, and what you want to do differently next time, if anything. So thanks a lot, guys. Take care, stay safe, have a great week, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Take care.